Good evening and welcome back to Bald Feather Bets, guys. We are going to look at the conference championship games this weekend. One of my favorite Sundays of the NFL schedule every year. But first, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel, notifications on, so you know we post. And then just interact with our content, like the video, comment on it, share it around. Anything you can do to help us grow the subscriber base, grow the amount of people getting the videos. Really appreciate it. Never charge for the picks, just want to grow the channel. You guys have been a big part of that. Very, very grateful for it this year. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to do these in reverse order. Because one of them I'm more excited about, but the other one I'm more confident in the pick in. So Rams and Seahawks. This is the one that I'm so excited about. The Seahawks are the number 1 team by DVOA this year, and the Rams are the number 2 team by DVOA this year. The Seahawks are the number 7 team of all time in the NFL by DVOA, and the Rams are the number 9 team of all time by DVOA. And we are getting them for a third time in the same season. We literally get a 3-game series of the 2 best teams in the NFL and 2 of the top teams in the NFL of all time. I don't know if I have ever been this excited for an NFL game. The Seahawks are number 1 in points per play on offense. They're number 1 in defensive points per play allowed. The Rams are number 2 in points per play on offense and number 6 in defensive points per play allowed. They both boast 4 down linemen that are extremely capable of doing everything that they need on their own without additional simulated pressure. However, they both can bring simulated pressure. They boast the most brilliant or second most brilliant offensive mind in the NFL with Sean McVay. If you want to argue Shanahan, I will accept the argument. If you argue anyone else, go do something else because you don't know what you're talking about. And they were boasting the most brilliant defensive mind in the NFL with Mike Macdonald. We have Puka Nacua, who by statistics and by hands is the best wide receiver in the NFL this year. And then we have Jackson Smith and Jigba by big playability, spectacular catch, and then downfield threat is probably the best wide receiver in the NFL this year. We have Sean McVay, who has gone completely psycho and running 13 personnel and just blowing everybody's mind with it. While we have also Mike Macdonald, who is sending 2-man fronts sometimes in terms of defensive linemen, but then loading up on linebackers around the edge and getting to the quarterback at an unprecedented rate when he does it. These are 2 of the most creative teams. They're 2 of the most organic teams. And it is the best overall matchup in terms of the fact that we get it 3 times in 1 year that I have ever seen in the NFL. In the first game, which was at LA, when the Rams were playing better football at the time, Rams won 21-19. Seahawks would have won if it was not for Sam Darnold's play. But we're going to come to that because the Rams now have a history of invoking that with him. And then when they played in Seattle on Thursday night, December 18th, that sounds right. Seattle won 38-37 in a game where the Rams were dominating, and then we got a punt return touchdown by Seattle that completely changed everything. Okay. So when the Rams have the ball, like I said, Rams have been doing this thing, and 49ers are doing it a little bit too, but then they lost Kittle, where they're running 13 personnel with 3 tight ends and one running back. It's blowing everyone's mind, and people aren't really sure how to defend it. If you remember correctly, when Sean McVay had that 2018 team, he blew everyone's mind with bunch formations and then essentially running like 6 plays out of a bunch formation, but no one knew how to diagnose when it was coming. And every single play had an inversion off of each other until they played Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl, and they essentially were disguising their coverage and not letting him know what they would do until the snap happened, and it threw them off because Goff hadn't seen it all year long. He then changed his philosophy a little bit when Stafford came in, and you saw more Shanahan elements from his days with Mike in Washington, where they went more power run game and then play action off the power run game with more of a wide set on wideouts. They don't boast a ton of speed on offense, but quite honestly, against Seattle, you're not beating Seattle's defense with speed. You need guys who can make contested catches, and you need guys who get open, which that is what Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua do. They are excellent route runners. Devontae Adams is maybe one of the best route runners of all time in the NFL, and Puka Nacua has maybe the best hands in the game currently. They boast excellent tight ends, and you saw when Stafford needed it in clutch time against the Bears, he relied on it heavily. And the Rams have a good two-headed monster at running back with Williams and Corum. Getting Dotson back on the offensive line is massive for their run game. He is a phenomenal rush win rate percentage, and he is one of the better run blocking offensive linemen in the NFL. Obviously, Matthew Stafford, likely MVP candidate, will finish 1 or 2. Don't really need to talk about his resume. What they are going to try and do against the Seahawks is they're essentially it's very interesting, because when they played each other the first time, the defenses kind of won the day. The second time they came out, the offenses reacted to what the defenses did, and they won the day. And what the Rams did was they got the Seahawks on passes in the middle that were short. It's really interesting because the Seahawks traditionally have been excellent against that. They've come out in three high safety looks where all 3 safeties are within the numbers of each, within the numbers. That is such a weird look to get in the NFL. And they're almost like daring you to throw it outside, but if you do, you're probably going to get beat by their corners, so they're so good. And so people then are trying to take advantage of the middle, and they're just annihilating teams. But the Rams have been able to do so. A lot of it has to do with that 13 personnel that throws people off. The Rams are going to try to establish themselves on the ground, which is football. It's whatever. Cliche is all hell. But in the pass game, they are going to try and take quick option routes with their receivers, who they believe are some of the smartest in the game, diagnosing what the coverage is and then running the correct option. You saw it with Puka on that crucial 3rd down against the Bears, OT, I think, when they got him 4th down or OT, when they got him the ball on that quick comeback, and he ran an option to stop to know when he was open. Stafford trusted, got it to him. He got 2 more yards to get past the 1st down. You're going to see a lot of that here against the Seahawks. The Rams are going to try to establish a lead early. Mike McDonald now in his last 3 playoff games, 2 as a defensive coordinator for Baltimore and 1 as the head coach for Seattle, has not given up any points in the second half. They are going to try to establish themselves with a lead early, and they are going to try to put some pressure on Sam Darnold. Expect to see them test one-on-ones with Devontae on the outside. And expect them to force Seattle's 4 down linemen, Seattle absolutely can do this, to win Seattle that game because they're going to test everyone with short plays, short passes, quick throws, yak, which they're some of the best in the game at, because they diagnose plays where the routes allow for a blocker in front of whoever catches the ball. And they're going to trust Stafford. Stafford has played 2 poor-ish games this year. One was against Carolina in the regular season, and he came back the next week with like his best game of the year. And the next was against the Bears last week. I expect him to have a good game here. Last time he played Seattle, he threw for 450 yards. So they're not afraid of the Seattle defense, even with how good this Seattle defense has been. Seattle with the ball. So Seattle with the ball, what they did to have success against the Rams was run 12 personnel when the Rams had 4 down linemen. So let me explain. If the Rams are in a 4-2-5 and the Seattle checks to a 12 personnel, oftentimes what you would expect a team to do is to go into a 4-3, okay? And then they're going to trust the linebacker to cover the tight end, which when the Rams did that, there was no problem in terms of coverage. Where the Rams got gashed in that second half was when they would do a 4-3, they would get gashed on the ground by Walker and Charbonnet. Charbonnet's not playing. I don't necessarily know if that... Walker's a workhorse, that's fine. But say you get 20 carries a game out of both Walker and Charbonnet. It isn't like Walker's now going to give you 40 carries. He's probably going to give you 30. I mean, if Walker gets 30 carries, Seattle won. So he's going to give you, like, that's probably his max, right? So LA knows that, and they have extreme success against Sam Darnold. Make no mistake about it. Even in that 38-37 win that Seattle had, it wasn't necessarily like a Sam Darnold game. He didn't come out in the second half. They had the punt return that got him there. They exploited the 12 personnel and were able to really run on the Rams. But the Rams did find a fix against it during that game, and that was to bring out 5 down linemen. When the Rams went 5 down linemen, they shut that down because the Rams have an extremely good defensive line. So they are going to try and match with 5 down linemen. What does Seattle do? How often is Seattle willing to check to a run when they don't? It's going to be fascinating. It's absolutely going to be fascinating because this is such a chess match because these teams are so good. Thank God the Bears did not hold on and win that game because we would have gotten a shit game up in Seattle because that is a horrendous matchup for Chicago up against Seattle. This is like the only 2 teams that can beat each other are Seattle and the Rams against each other. The only team coming out of the NFC that was going to have any chance against Seattle was the Rams because they can match up against them. Like, there isn't anything that one of these teams does well that is the other team's weakness. It's like what they do well, the other team defends well. Or what they're good at defense, well, the other team is potent there on offense. So, could not be... Again, I'm like just gawking over this game. I don't think I've ever been this excited for a football game in my life. And I'm not even a fan of these teams. But I am so excited to watch this game. So how do we see it? The line is at 2.5 or 3. You probably have a little bit of overvalue by about a point here on the Seahawks. You definitely have overvalue on them at 3, given that the previous 2 games were decided by 2 and 1. It is absolutely true that the Rams are not playing their best football right now, where the Seahawks are. In a divisional matchup where the 2 teams know each other this well, and this is their 3rd meeting of the year, I don't necessarily think that matters. Now, traditional wisdom in the way that I would look at this, I would say the Seahawks lost the turnover battle in both previous games, and that's something that you would expect to normalize. I don't necessarily think it will. The Rams have a number on Sam Darnold dating back to when they beat the ever-loving shit out of him with the Vikings last year in the playoffs. They are very good at disguising what they are doing against him pre-snap, and that is one of the biggest things that Darnold has an issue with. Even when Darnold was playing with the Jets, and he was terrible because everybody's terrible with the Jets, nobody ever said, like, well, this guy can't make the throws. Like, arm talent has never been a question for Sam Darnold. When Sam Darnold is confused pre-snap versus post-snap is when he gets himself in trouble, and the Rams are able to do that against him very well, especially in early passing downs when he thinks he's looking at a traditional run defense because it's an early down, and Seattle's in a pass play because they want to take advantage of that, and then he gets got. I do not expect the turnover battle to normalize here. I expect that to be something that Seattle has to overcome in this game. Special teams is, without a doubt, a massive edge to Seattle. They have the best return man in the game currently in the NFL. They have Jason Myers at kicker, and they have probably the best punter in Michael Dixon in the NFL. The Rams fired their special teams coach after the second time these teams played because they've been so abysmal on special teams. I definitely think that could come into play here. But with that being said, if you are going to give me Sean McVay +3 in an NFC championship game against a divisional opponent where he needs one game to get to a Super Bowl and he has the MVP quarterback on his side, I'm going to take it 10 times out of 10. It is a 3-unit play because it is not all that confident. The Seahawks are the best team in the NFL. They're number 1 in points per play, and they're number 1 in defensive points per play. But this is truly the only matchup in the NFC playoffs that could have got them. And I think the Rams will have a very good showing. Do they win? I don't know. I think this game comes down to 1, 2, or 3 points either way. So we're on the Rams plus the 3. We're doing that for 3 units. All right, AFC Championship game. Patriots and Denver at Denver. Obviously, no Bo Nix for Denver. Patriots, not really any big injury news. I mean, nothing major. Stevenson's still a go. Henderson's a go. Yeah. Didn't really have any major news. The other one that we're watching out for with Denver is Troy Franklin. But that's a bigger loss if Bo Nix plays versus Stidham. So line is at 4.5, 5, or 5.5. How do we see this one going? We'll go Patriots with the ball first. The Patriots are pretty balanced offensively, run and pass. Where they have gotten themselves into trouble this year has been an offensive line, especially as of late, where Will Campbell is clearly not 100% healthy. You saw it against the Texans. The Texans defense ate them alive. If Davis Mills plays quarterback and just hands the ball off and makes 5-yard throws all game, there's probably a really good chance the Texans win that game. But C.J. Stroud is out there just making horrendous decisions. Denver defensively is a difficult matchup for the Patriots, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't solve it. But here's why. The Patriots, in terms of sack percentage, are 27th in the NFL offensively, and in terms of sacks per game, they are 26 in the NFL offensively. In terms of sack percentage, Denver is number 1 on defense. They sack the quarterback on 10.10% of dropbacks, and they are number 1 in sacks per game. Allen and Bonito off the outside are phenomenal. Where they really get you, though, is pressure up the middle from their defensive tackles, as well as stimulated pressure coming from the off-ball linebackers, and then the fact that they are excellent in coverage, especially with Surtain on one side. So they get coverage sacks combined with the fact that they have very good pass rushers. They are one of the best defenses in the NFL. They're third in defensive points per play behind the Texans by like 0.001 points. So they're just as good as the Texans defense that the Patriots struggled with. Where the Patriots will need to establish themselves in success is the pressures have to not turn into sacks. So Drake May is third in EPA against pressure, but he holds onto the ball, so that then can lead to sacks. And the Patriots will have to have more 50-50 deep balls go their way, because Drake May is terrible at turnover-worthy throws. He throws a lot of turnover-worthy throws. They just haven't been executed as turnovers. Some of that can do with schedule. So, per DVOA, the Patriots have played historically one of the top 10 easiest schedules in the history of the NFL. I tend to not put a lot of stock in that. However, you could make an argument that it explains a few things about both their record and then statistically, like the fact that May's having all these turnover-worthy throws, but he's not having a lot of turnovers. He may just be playing shitty defenses that aren't able to take advantage of it. But I hate that argument because this is the NFL, and the difference between the Raiders and the Seahawks is a lot less than you guys would think. From a personnel standpoint, man, like, McDaniels is going to run a lot of multiples out there. He can get you in 11. He can get you in 12. They've even done a little bit of 21 with two backs. Boutte is a better wide receiver than people give him credit for. He's going to get a bag this offseason. Diggs, obviously, everyone knows him. The way you get Denver's defense is through the tight ends, and Hunter Henry has been very good and is one of Drake May's favorite targets. So look for May to be finding Hunter as an outlet in this game often, especially if he has pressure in his face. I'm worried about New England's offensive line in this one, both running the ball and holding up against those pressures. And then I'm worried that some of these turnover things that May has been getting himself into comes back to bite him here in this one. But we'll see. It easily could not. Hasn't really all so far this year. Okay, Denver with the ball. Denver, per most advanced metrics, has the best offensive line in the NFL. They are decent at running, but they are elite in pass block. They give up the least amount of sacks percentages per drop back, and they give up the least amount of sacks per game per drop back. By the way, teams that do that usually win the Super Bowl. So teams that are number one in sack percentage on defense and number one against, like, not giving up sacks on offense, oftentimes win the Super Bowl. It's a little bit different this year because the Seahawks and the Rams exist, so we'll see. They are a downfield passing unit, so they hit you with big plays in the pass game. I know a lot of people think that because Nix isn't not playing in the game, they will get away from that. I absolutely do not think so. I think they are going full go with big old stiddies. I think Sean Payton trusts him. I think he's been a backup there for 2 years and gotten paid for a reason. And I think he got drafted by the Patriots for a reason. So Auburn product by way of Baylor can make the throws, but also pretty intelligent. I do expect them, obviously, to want to establish themselves on the ground and test New England defense on the road in altitude. and try and have them get that snap count up. But I think the full playbook will be at the disposal, and they're winning or losing this game with big ol' stiddies. So New England defensively does not match up well against Denver when I take it at that value. They give up big plays. They get handsy in downfield coverage. And they have not done well when they've faced offensive lines that are very good. They have feasted against offensive lines in the bottom half of the statistics when it comes to sack percentages. And if they're not getting pressure, that's when you can get that secondary outside of Christian Gonzalez. Nobody's getting Christian Gonzalez, but you can get the secondary outside of him. This is a 20-unit play. Unfortunately, because of the way the wild card weekend went, and because of we only have 3 games left in the NFL and we need to make sure that we lock in a profit, we can't do it. Very sad. But Denver plus 5.5 is maybe my favorite play of the NFL this season, including the one that didn't win, Eagles over San Francisco. No conference championship home team who is getting points has ever not covered. And this is wrong team favored. Denver would be a 1.5 to a 2.5 point favorite. I have the drop off between Nix and Stidham simply due to just things of like unknown nature at 3 or max 3.5. I expect this number to come down. I don't think you're going to be able to get 5.5 for long. We are on Denver plus 5.5, and we're doing that one for I was gonna say 5. We're doing it for 10 units. I can't pass this one up. I cannot pass this one up. This is wrong team favored. This line makes no sense. Denver's better. Denver's better in most ways. They're most likely going to win the game outright. So if you're telling me I get them 5.5 points at home, we're doing it for 10 units. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Be back at you. Check out our video that we did yesterday where we kind of recapped the NCAA championship game and then just gave you guys kind of a recap of the year betting for us in college. And then we will be back at you again either tomorrow or Friday with some talk about college football roster construction moving forward, and then what does that mean for futures markets? And is there anything that you guys should keep your eye on for the 2026 season in terms of futures? Maybe not even available right now, but as those things start to become available in the future. But appreciate you guys very much. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And let's go Rams and let's go Broncos.